What's up, man? It's your big brother K-Rino. It's been a while since I did one of my top 10 lists. I came up with a cool one, well I think it's cool, um, because I was thinking about a lot of the groups I used to rock out to back in the days, and a lot of the groups that I came up listening to and was influenced by when I was just a young puppy in the rap game. So I wanted to make a list of my top 10 forgotten rap groups of all time. These are groups who were popping back in the days, and now it seems like you don't even hear about them anymore. Even with the fact that there's a lot of old school artists or artists from back in the days that you still hear about. You still see them touring. You still see them get money. You still see them on the old school tours that take place throughout the country. You still see them in interviews. So they're very relevant, even though they've been in the game 25, 30 years. Those are not the ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about those groups that were popping back in the days and had a good thing going for one, two, three, maybe four albums, and you just don't hear about them anymore. They're basically forgotten. And these were some of the dopest groups to ever come out. So I'm just gonna give you a quick rundown of my favorite 10 forgotten groups with a couple of I guess honorable mentions thrown in the mix. So I'm gonna start it off with one of my favorite groups, man, and that's Stetsasonic. And Stetsasonic was a group, man, that had the hits like Sally, like some people don't like the way Sally walk. That was one of their big hits. But my favorite song from Stetsasonic was a song they had called On Fire. That was my track, man, because down south we always liked it slow. And when that beat came on and it was just do 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 boom boom boom. It just that's that slow bass that we always loved down south. And Daddy O and MC Delight, them boys would come in just killing it, man. Daddy O had one of the dopest rap voices in rap history, in my opinion. So Stetsasonic is a group y'all need to go check out. Learn your history on that. My second group would be one of my all-time favorite groups, and that's UTFO. UTFO was a untouchable force organization, and they had the song Roxanne Roxanne back in the early 80s. And but that's not the only song they had. They had a lot of other songs, but the Roxanne song is what popped them off, and it started a whole wave of, I guess, the original um, comeback songs, the original retaliation and response tracks, where Roxanne came out. Then the Roxanne diss record came out from the female Roxanne, Shantae. Then they had the real Roxanne. Then they had the father of Roxanne, the doctor. It just went on and on and on. But UTFO was the group that started all that, and they had a lot of other great tracks and great albums after that, with Kango and Doc Ice and the Educated Rapper and Mixmaster Ice. Those groups I grew up on, so I know all that still like it was yesterday. Um, the third group I'm gonna mention is another one of my all-time favorites, man, that don't get the credit that they deserve, and that's Nice and Smooth. Nice and Smooth, man, they were so dope, and still are. I don't like to speak on these groups in the past tense like they not. These dudes still dope, but just at the time when they were at the height of their popularity, man, Greg Nice and Smooth B, they them boys so original. Didn't sound like nobody that was in the game. Greg Nice had that little style. He used to come with the echo at the end, and Smooth B would come in with the contrast, with the smooth, articulate vocals that he used to drop, man. And Nice and Smooth was just one of my favorite groups of all time, man. But another one of my favorite groups that if I speak on rap groups 100 times, if I mention these guys 100 times, depending on the age group that I'm talking to, you may get one person that have heard of them, and that's Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde, in my opinion, may be the most underrated rap group because what they were bringing to the table back in the mid 80s, man, with the storytelling, they are one of the groups that shaped me in terms of being a storytelling rapper. When they had songs like The Freshest Rhymes in the World and Genius Rap, these are some of the dopest tracks of all time to me. And they would tell these stories, man, just cool stories, man, and that is part of what kind of helped me open my imagination to say, I can talk about whatever I want to talk about and just create a world. Jekyll and Hyde used to do that with the shark, uh, the raps about the shark and the Looney Clips and all that, man. That's just dope stuff, man. But keeping it moving, man, we're gonna take it to the West Coast. One of the coldest groups, man, was CMW, man, Compton's Most Wanted. And these guys, man, came around in the NWA era. And of course, NWA was the biggest group on the West Coast, and actually the biggest group to ever come out of the West Coast, and one of the biggest, greatest groups in the world. Period. But Compton's Most Wanted came out right around that time, and they was holding their own on that West Coast scene, and we jammed them heavy back in the days, man, along with MC8 and a lot of the other rappers on the West Coast. We rock with all of them, man. Rodney O, Joe Cooley, we rock with all of them back in the days, man. That's another one, Rodney O and Joe Cooley. You can throw them in there. Outright Rodney O and Joe Cooley. Even though Rodney O was a solo rapper, him and Joe Cooley were a group. And yeah, I know they may not be doing their thing together now, but Joe Cooley, one of the dopest DJs ever, and Rodney O, him and Rapper K sound just alike, man. But we'll keep it moving, man, to the Fat Boys. And I know y'all probably like the Fat Boys. I'm like, yeah, the Fat Boys. For those who know, y'all remember how popular the Fat Boys were back in the days, and they had movies and everything. They were one of the hottest groups. They were one of the first rap groups to cross over into the mainstream and do a lot of commercial stuff. That might have been the demise of them to a degree because they kind of went too far commercial, too far into the mainstream. They started doing songs with the Beach Boys and all that, and I think it it turned off their core fan base. But in the beginning, in their heyday, man, that first Fat Boys album back in the Crush Groove days, Marky D and Kool Rock Ski, them dudes was spitting, man, and they were in the realm of the. Back then, it was two rappers and a DJ, but they had two rappers and a beatbox, the human beatbox, and they were in the realm of the Run and the DMC and the Jalil and the Ecstasy from Houdini, but they held their own. And you go watch the movie Crush Groove, you'll see the Fat Boys were heavily featured in that movie, but they had a lot of hits, man. And I miss the Fat Boys, I ain't gonna lie. Another group, we're gonna take it back to the West Coast, man, is Digital Underground. Digital Underground got it popping more so in the 90s. Of course, they had the song The Humpty Dance and all that, and I don't care what y'all say. I know y'all was jamming that Humpty back in the 90s. When that song used to come on in the club, it was a wrap. It was over, man. But um, Shock G and Money B and all the guys from Digital Underground and Humpty, Even though y'all, anybody who know the history, y'all know what it is. But um, they had the game on fire at one point, and now it's like you don't hear about these great groups anymore because of the fact that um, I don't think history is respected the way that it should be. So how many we got? We got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay, I'm gonna go with De La Soul. And De La Soul came out in the late 80s up into the 90s. They had a lot of hits like Me, Myself, and I and all that, but you don't really hear about De La Soul anymore. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the reason why you don't hear about a lot of these groups is because they don't make music anymore. They haven't been together or haven't made any new releases in a while. But I just wish there was some way to um, have their work constantly flowing through the generations so people would know where you don't have to just stumble up accidentally on some of these great legendary groups. So De La Soul is definitely a group. um, Another group that I would like to mention, man, and this might be a little controversial because you hear their songs a lot, one or two in particular, but Grandmaster Flash. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five are one of the greatest groups of all time, man, with Melly Mel and Kid Creole and all the great rappers that they had, not to mention Flash holding it down, man. So you hear the message a lot, but you don't really hear about the group. And last but not least, I gotta rock with Kid and Play. I mess with Kid and Play heavy, not just from the movies, but from the old school tracks that they used to drop in the 80s and 90s. So Kid and Play rounds out my list. Y'all put y'all's down below. Anybody I might have forgot to mention, y'all make sure y'all do like, comment, and subscribe. I got a few honorable mentions. I'll get into those at another time, man. So that's my top 10 forgotten rap group list of all time. Appreciate the love. Peace.